Good morning, friends. Happy Thursday. I see that there's so many people already joining us from literally all over the world. I'm talking back and forth with someone who is just like 2.5 hours ahead of where I am right now or above where I live. We've got Scottsdale, Arizona, Amelia Island, Florida. We have somebody from Germany, somebody from London, Turkey. Thank you guys so much for being here with me today. I am super excited to go through today's training. So today is actually something that people have actively asked me like multiple times. So I have personally decided to actually make an entire training dedicated to it. So a lot of people have said that they are struggling with visibility. And they don't actually know, especially if you guys have EverBee, you don't actually know like what the visibility score actually is. And like how is it computed? How is it calculated? And of course, something that's like really important for all of us is okay, what if my visibility score sucks? How do I fix it? So that is what today's training is going to be about, specifically because I like to do as much as I can to give you guys answers in real time. So if you guys have asked a question, I try to make a training about it. So I really hope this is beneficial for everyone who is here today on our live. As always, if you do have any questions about what I'm going through, you know what to do. If this is not your first time, drop questions, comments, concerns, feedback, whatever in the comments for me of the live video. If this is your first time, I would also love to say hi and acknowledge you. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And if you are watching this on the replay, feel free to drop any comments in the actual video comments itself. So I know you don't have access to the live comments, but if you want to pop them in the comments below this video, that is me actually responding to those. And then the last little thing as it relates to housekeeping before we dive into together today is if you wouldn't mind going ahead and taking a quick second, whether you are watching this on live with me or if you are actually watching the replay, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and clicking the little thumbs up like button for this live training today, so we can try to reach as many new people and get as many people joining in every Thursday with us. So go ahead and give me a like there. Also, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you are new, because I do go live for you guys every single Thursday. But we also have 4 really big events planned over the next 5 months, and I do not want you to miss out on those. So if you are subscribed to the channel, you will get notified once we start marketing those new upcoming events that we're having over the next 5 months. Okay. With that said, oh, hi, Sparkle Budgets. They said that they're new here. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm so glad to have you. Okay, so as always, please drop whatever you have in the comments, but I am trying to give you guys some time back in your day today. So I'm just going to dive right in. Okay, I hope that's cool with you guys. Let's go ahead and share my screen and get through it. Oh, we have someone from France. Awesome. Very cool. All right, so how to increase your visibility on Etsy. Like I said, this has been something that people have actively asked about on basically a weekly basis for the past couple of months. So I thought it was probably time to start talking about it and giving you guys some tips and tricks on how to fix this, okay? So, first up is to understand what exactly is the visibility score within EverBee. So, if you have an EverBee account, you more than likely have seen something along the lines of visibility score 100%, visibility score 0%. And you're probably like, how are you guys even calculating that? What does that mean? Is it something that Etsy tells us, or is it something that EverBee is computing? So I wanted to go ahead and make that as crystal clear as possible today. This is an EverBee metric. This is something that we generate based on, as you can see, we'll talk about exactly what goes into it, but based on literally millions of different listings compared to yours, pretty much, okay? It is not an it is not an Etsy metric. It is an EverBee metric, and this is exactly what goes into it. It is a metric that compares the daily views of a shop's listing to thousands of other listings on the platform. So the daily views that you are receiving to your individual listings compared to everybody else, okay? The visibility score, however, is taken, like how is it actually built? So we know what it is, but how is it actually calculated? We basically take the number of views of a listing since it was first created. So let's say you have a visibility score of 0 or 20%, but you've been alive for like 48 months. So your listing has been alive for 4 years. That could be the reason why the listing visibility score is so low in the first place, because it's basically depending on when you first started and the number of days since the listing was created. So the total views of a listing since it was created divided by the number of days since the listing was created. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And then, of course, you can see we take that through a very intentional algorithm in order to get that percentage that you might be seeing. All right. So how to basically figure out if this is good or not. If you have a visibility score of around, let's say I just use 72% as a weird arbitrary number. Let's say you use 72%, but one listing or a couple listings have over 90%. That means that this listing is doing something right. This listing is performing better across the board. It is getting higher views. Something is working. And now it is our job to determine what is working on that one comparatively to the other ones. And can I apply those things potentially to the other ones that aren't working? The same concept goes, though, on the adverse side as well. So if we have nothing but low visibility scores, it is our chance to figure out what that is off and how can we address it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I also wanted to show here if a listing, this is very important because people have always been like, what's a 100% versus a 0 versus a 25 versus a 50? If a listing has a 100% visibility score and you're seeing that while you're doing research and you're seeing a bunch of bestsellers have 100%, you're like, how the heck did they get here? This is exactly what the 100% visibility score on EverBee means. The listing is getting more average daily views, again, comparatively to the length of time the listing has existed, than 99% of other listings on Etsy. Okay, so I hope all of that makes sense. But I first, before I got into anything else, wanted to clarify what a visibility score on EverBee even was. Okay. So the next thing we're going to get into is, okay, how do we actually fix it? But before I do that, I do see a couple comments over here, so I want to address those first. We have some people saying that they're watching live. Fantastic. We have some people saying they're from, oh, yay. Someone said that they are from Florida, Tampa Bay, Florida. It's funny you say that. I actually, Pauline, I was born in Plant City, born in Brandon, I guess, but born and raised in Plant City, Florida. And I lived in Florida for the first 21 years of my life. And then I moved to Michigan for some godforsaken reason. So nice to know you. You're literally a neighbor of mine, a past neighbor. Okay, so we have a couple of questions I do want to hit on really quickly before we get into how do we fix these things, all right? So I have changed my keywords as a result of checking through EverBee. Fantastic. How long do you estimate I should wait to see any changes if they have a positive or negative effect? Great question. So Etsy actually answers this for us through how they use like Etsy ads. So they basically have said a minimum of 30 days should start to show you a little bit of traction. However, I've even seen traction within 2 days. So it really just depends on actually a couple of things that we're about to talk about. It depends on a bunch of those different factors, how big your audience is, how many people are competing for that space against you, how big the keyword score is, etc. But I also would say Etsy really does tell us like the 30, 60, 90 day mark is where they kind of want you to, I don't want to say set it and forget it, but they are actively encouraging us to make the changes, whatever changes you want to do, and then give it time to breathe and to ruminate and to take action pretty much. So I would say more than likely 30 days minimum, but it might take longer than that. It might take shorter than that. All right, someone says, if the listing is still something that is valuable, would you remove it and add it to reset the listing age? No, we're going to get into that in a second, actually, of like, if you need to make certain adjustments, how are we going to do that? So I'm going to pause that question, put a little pin in it. We are going to get to that in just a second. See if there's anything else. Kirsten said, welcome to Michigan. Thanks. I've actually been here 8 years next week, but I keep saying that I'm new. So All right, cool. It looks like everyone is good. You're just kind of saying hi from where you're joining in. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the comments because you guys know if you have been here, I have severe ADHD and I will get highly distracted by reading all of your comments in real time. So I'm going to put it off to the side real fast and get back to the training really quickly together. So we know what a visibility score is now. We went over that together. We know why something might be showing up as a higher percentage, why something might not be, etc. But you guys are probably like, cool, what the heck do I do with that information? Now we're basically going to get into, I think I'm giving you guys like 8 or 9 different tips or things that you should look at within your own shop, within your own listings to see how do we get views up? Because we know the visibility score is the amount of daily views versus the amount of time that the listing has been live. So how do we get this up? We got to get our views up. Sorry, hit my mic. We got to get our views up. So let's talk about a couple of ways how we can do that. So the first thing, and you'll see it's going to say check these things. It's not like these are not things that you have to go and adjust right now. You don't have to like about face after this call and go make a bunch of changes. I want you to check these things within your listings and basically use it as a checklist for yourself for future listings that you're going to create as well. Okay. So is the product that you're selling even in demand in the first place? So can we 100% confirm through data that people actually even want to buy this? Okay. I use the product analytics dashboard with a couple of different filters to confirm or deny this, no matter what thing I'm trying to offer, what place I'm trying to get into. What I personally like to do when it relates to filters is this is actually something that someone taught me like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I love it. And I never thought about it. And I wanted to make sure that you guys knew. I usually used to, for like 2 years, I used to filter by monthly revenue. And that was the majority of the filters that I would use, or at least it was the thing that I would filter up to the top. However, I have decided to do monthly sales volume comparatively to monthly revenue for one main reason, and it was because it depends on what you're selling, of course. But let's say you have an item that is a high ticket item, but you only like let's say it's $100. Whatever you're selling is $100. Your monthly revenue could be 10,000, but y'all know I can't do math. I'm gonna do some math with us all together. I think that's 10, right? 100. Just kidding. Okay, so let's pretend that I said 1,000. So let's say you have 1,000 average dollars being sold on a monthly basis, but you sell it for $100 each. If you pulled up monthly revenue, your item or their item, someone that you're trying to look into, might be pulled to the top, but they only sold 10 of them. So it's really like not the smartest idea, in my opinion. I was the one that did it for 2 years. So I'm just giving you guys some feedback based on what I've experienced. It's a better idea to look at the total monthly sales. On the other side of this is if you are selling digital products are usually really cheap. They're usually on the opposite end. They're usually somewhere between $1 to $5 as the vast majority. So if you are trying to search through DPs and you do monthly revenue, someone might have $400 in monthly revenue, and you might be like, that's not good enough. I don't want to do that. But then when we do 400 divided by, let's just say $3.50, that is 114 sales for that item. Okay. So that's why I personally like to use total sales volume on a monthly basis now compared to monthly revenue. Okay. Another thing that someone taught me that I think is really, really beneficial for you guys is what if they're not really making any sales, or what if their sales volume is a little bit lower than we would like, but they're getting so many favorites? That means that people are actively interested in this product. There is demand. Even if someone hasn't made the decision to convert yet, they are at least getting views and they're at least getting their click-through rate higher. Okay. So there's basically 4 different metrics you can use: impressions, views, visits, and conversions, which conversion would just be purchase or add to cart or something of the sort, buy now, whatever you decide. So if someone is getting a lot of favorites, that means they have done well on impressions and they did well on views, and they've done well on visits, and now they only have to fix conversions. So that's why I like to look at the people that are getting a lot of favorites as well, because you, with a low visibility score, might be struggling with just getting the views themselves. Okay, so we're not even over here yet like the people with favorites are. I hope that makes sense, because a favorite, as you guys probably know, can't take place until they get to the item itself, the actual listing. Okay. All right, now that's number one. Number two is we also want to look at the niche or target audience that you're selling to. Is that also high performing as well? So, not only the products that you want to sell or the type of design aesthetic you want to sell, but are the people who want to buy this from you? Is that a large enough majority of people? So, I use this little example today that I found. I used chronic illness versus mental health. So, chronic illness, for example, theoretically speaking, based on EverBee's numbers, only 333 people who are on Etsy are actively searching that on a basically 30-day by 30-day basis. So, I personally think that might be a little bit too low. But at the same time, the good news is you do have a lot less competition, so it might be something to jump into. However, when we look at the other side of mental health, which is a little bit higher search volume, also comes with a corresponding higher competition. So that's what I kind of like to do is when I'm thinking about a niche or a target audience or something of the sort, I like to go with the one that has a little bit higher search volume and then dig a little bit deeper into that particular niche to get the competition smaller. So instead of mental health, maybe neurodivergent, maybe mental health, I don't know what they're called, teachers, AIDS, whatever, maybe ADHD, maybe something of that nature where the search volume still makes sense because the niche was still in demand, but the competition is much lower. Okay, hope that makes sense. Number three, and by the way, if anybody is putting any comments or questions, I am going to stop after every fourth one and head directly to the comments to address your concerns. So I promise I am not ignoring you. I am just ignoring you for the next two lines. So the next thing we're going to look at is how many other shops or listings are fighting for space against you. So like I said a second ago, mental health has 385,000 listings competing with us when chronic illness only has 27. If we look at this, I also was thinking of something that's really, really big on Etsy, which is nurse. And if you get into the nurse space, we're looking at this number, which is insane. I would never in my life recommend this to somebody to just brand spanking new, getting into Etsy, getting into the nurse space, unless you plan on making so many listings and you plan on doing something like this where the search volume is still high, but the competition is pennies on the dollar compared to nurse itself. Okay. So, nurse practitioner, ER nurse, oncology nurse, etc. Things that you could basically take a large niche that is largely saturated and sub niche it down into ones that have lower competition. Okay. Hope that makes sense. The last thing I want to say here before I get into the questions or comments you guys might have is you need to check and ensure that your SEO strategy is intentional, it is data driven, and it is competitive. So it's not just copying the best sellers, which I have gotten this question from you guys. I have gotten this statement from so many people that it's like, oh, isn't that what EverBee's for? Aren't we supposed to just copy and paste? No, friend. You were supposed to gain inspiration. You were supposed to do your research. You were supposed to build your own keyword master strategy list. If you guys do not know how to do that, we actually did a live training, I want to say 2 months or so ago, building your keyword master strategy list. So I highly recommend after this training or anytime in your leisure, go watch that live video as well, because I literally went over 7 steps on exactly how to build that out and how I even thought to look up ER nurse or mental health or whatever it is to find things that are a little more competitive and a lot less competition. So there's the same word, but it's different, right? And then when we're thinking about the SEO strategy, also understanding that SEO is not just your title. It is not just your tags. It is not just your listing description. It is not just your about section, your shop announcement, your alt text on your images. It is a combination of all of those things. So when I say, is it intentional, data driven, and competitive, I mean we are looking across the board at multiple locations where search engines could pair us with someone's search query. Okay. Hope all of that makes sense. I got 5 questions in the comments, so I want to address those really quickly. You're welcome. Someone said, can you, thanks for the answer. Can you share this in the comments so we can print and refer back to it just if you get a chance? I will not be able to put it in the comments, Tracy, but because unfortunately links don't work in live comments for some reason. However, I will go ahead and put, this is a PDF that I curated for you guys as like a resource from EverBee. So what I'll do is go ahead and download this PDF as a, what do you call it, as a link for a Google Drive, so you can actually go watch it in the description of this video once we're done. So it's not there yet, but it will be after we are done chatting. Someone said, please share this video. It is already shared. It is a live video. It is currently it's live on the channel, and you can also rewatch any of our live trainings on the live playlist section as well. Does the description actually help with ranking? I heard it was only title and tags. Perhaps I am wrong. I don't want to say you're wrong by any means, but SEO quite literally means search engine optimization. And there are probably 13 places on your Etsy shop that can go into search engine optimization. Number 1, obviously, titles. Number 2, tags, of course. But we also have SEO keywords that can be utilized within the listing description to also help us get found. We also have alt text that you could potentially add to one or each of your photos. That could also be SEO keywords in there. You can have SEO keywords in your shop announcement. You can have it in the about section of your shop in itself. You can actually have it in the about seller section as well. So there are multiple places, and it's definitely not just titles and tags where you can start gathering and adding in these high converting, high performing keywords to get people to start to notice you, because your shop is telling Etsy that you need to be shown to the people who are typing in these keywords when they're conducting their search. So I hope that makes sense. All right, it looks like we have all the questions done, so let's go ahead and move on to number 5. So the next thing is, ironically, completely about titles. So it's good that we were talking about this anyways. So are you using the first 40 characters of your title to speak to a human and also tell search engines what the title is? Plus, is the title captivating enough for someone to want to hover over your listing for more than 2 to 3 seconds? And maybe even click through to it. If so, or if not, that could potentially make or break if someone ever views your listing. So when I say the 40 first characters, I took some screenshots so that you can see what I mean. Champagne flutes, personalized, ... I don't see the rest of the title. Custom engagement gift, faceless, which means faceless, but we don't see that, right? Acrylic engaged ornament engaged, as we know, but you'll only be able to see those first few. So all of these people right here are bestsellers, or they are popular now listings. And I believe one of the main reasons why is because their title, and all the other reasons, of course, we're going to talk about today, but their title is captivating enough to talk to a human while also speaking to search engines. Okay. Number 5. Number 6, this is so important. I probably should have put this at number 1. Is your thumbnail image competitive enough against top performers in your space? Is it focused on the product? And is it standing out amongst a sea of other thumbnails that are literally trying to sell the exact same thing? This has never been more important than right now, because Etsy just added this new thing. I want to say in like February or March, they added this new thing called gift mode, which is basically where you can type for gift for vegetarian or something, gift for camping lover, gift for dog mom. You can type that, or searchers can type that into the search bar, and then it will actually take them to a location like this. So this is called, like, you'll see, like, I don't even remember what I put in, to be honest here. I think it maybe it was like back to school or something. I do not remember what I put in, but whatever search I put in gave me this, which is basically gifts for blank curated by Etsy. So, knowing this, you will see that there are only photos. The only thing that we can see is photos and the price and if there is a discount. That is it. And then you have to have, as a searcher or as a shopper on Etsy, you have to be captivated enough or informed enough by the actual photo thumbnail itself to ever see shipping info, review info, titles. They don't see tags, but you know what I mean? Listing description, everything else. They do not see that on gift mode. So I will say it again. If you believe, like, let's look right here. This is a perfect freaking example. Let's use whatever this is, like luggage or handbags. If you believe that your thumbnail photo is not competitive enough or it's not standing out enough against a sea of other luggages or whatever you're selling, then you might need to upgrade that. Like, that's probably number one thing to upgrade pretty immediately, if for no other reason than gift mode. Okay. So, what I am personally seeing as a shopper myself is what is standing out to me is this one because it's brightly colored compared to all of the other ones that are more duffel baggy and they're very generic, like neutral color. So this one's standing out to me immediately. I also personally like this one because I know that I'm going to be offered more colors than just the one. I do not like this one. Okay. So this looks very AI created to me and it's not appealing to me as a searcher. I also don't know if I love this one because it reminds me of like a Macy's catalog ad, and that's not what I'm coming to Etsy for. Okay. So that's literally what is going through a shopper's mind, whether consciously or subconsciously. So it is our job as the sellers to understand that is what they are going through in their minds and how do we compete. Okay. That was number 7, I believe. Number 8 is I also want you to think about if you are offering, and if you're not, I highly recommend that you do, especially as Q4 is very, very close to us in proximity. Are you offering any flash sales to encourage people to either hover over your listing for a couple seconds or go into the listing itself? So you can see here, this particular one, if you do have a flash sale that is currently ending, I believe, within a 36-hour time frame, Etsy will put that on the search query itself. So you'll have the search. Let's say for this one, I put engaged ornaments, and there were literally thousands of engaged ornaments or engagement ornaments. But then this had a sale, which as a searcher caught my eye. Okay. So that would be another thing, if you're not offering, might be something to look into. Another thing I just realized I did not put in this training, but I really want to hit on really quickly is video. If you do not have a video on your listing, you could increase your views faster by adding video. That could literally be the one thing that you do. And I would still encourage you to look at everything else, but adding a video could increase your views and in turn your visibility score within a couple of days. And the reason why I say that is basically what happens is someone will be on a listing. So let's say they hover over this listing, engaged Ben and Julia. If they hover over this and a video is on the listing, the video will immediately start playing. It has no sound. It's only 15 seconds, I believe, or less, but it's going to immediately start playing simply by having my mouse over it. Okay. So by literally just someone being like, scroll, 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 video starts playing. Okay. So how that can increase your views and your visibility score is people are staying on your listing image, video in this case, longer than all the other ones. So that might also increase your visits. It might also increase your conversions, but at minimum, it will increase your views because someone didn't just see the listing and then moved on. Someone hovered over it and engaged with it by watching the video. Okay. So I forgot to put that in here, but that is a very important one. So I wanted to make sure I put it in as well. All right. I think this is the last one before I get to your comments. I promise I do see all 8 of you in there. I will get there really soon. The next thing is price point. Is your price point competitive with other high-performing listings that are comparable to your listing, of course? And are they aligned with what your ideal buyer is looking to spend? I put this as an example. You can see all of these are popular now. You can see they all have incredible review rates, but I want to talk about two things. Number one is the high performings are, is it competitive? Okay. So these guys right here are ceramic ornaments that are personalized. Ceramic is a lot cheaper of a material and cheaper to produce than glass ornaments or even handmade ornaments. So we basically have three different ornaments here. They all could be handmade, by the way, but let's just say they're not. Let's say they're print on demand, or let's say one of them is handmade. But there are three different types of ornaments here, which in my opinion should have three different price points. Okay. What I don't love, which I mean, I'm so proud of them for doing this, but what I don't love is these should be way closer together in price than they are. Right now, you can see they both have a 50% off sale on them, which is fantastic. But someone is saying that the exact same item is $34 compared to 15. So it's literally double the price, even with a 50% off coupon. I do not think this is a great strategy. I think this is a great strategy, what they're doing, but also the profit margin isn't great. So I personally would like to go and favor this one, even though it's more expensive. Okay. So even though they're the exact same item, someone has a lesser profit margin than someone else who is literally charging double, but taking half off. I hope that makes sense. So that's the first thing. The second thing is aligned with what your ideal buyer wants to spend. What I mean by that is some of you guys might have more value-based buyers who want a cheap Bella Canvas, like $5 t-shirt. Some of you also might have more premium buyers. My buyers are more premium where I am delivering something that they are willing to spend. I'm not going to lie. I have one thing that is $250. So it's a little bit more premium. If you do handmade stuff, that's a little bit more premium simply because you are having to actively make something, invest your time into it, invest your time into shipping it and distributing it out to them. But also, if we look at the niche that you are trying to sell to, people who are getting married, people who are celebrating people who are getting married, people who are having a baby, people who are buying a new house, whatever the case may be, they're always willing to spend a little bit more. They don't want to go cheap on these things. They want to make, this is hopefully the first and only time you will get engaged. And it's hopefully the first and only time that you will get married, or it's the first and only time you will ever have a firstborn baby, right? So people are actively willing to pay a more premium rate. So that's what I mean by not only looking and seeing if your listings are competitive in price, but also does it make sense for who you want your end buyer to be? Okay. Hope all of that makes sense. We now have 12 comments. So let me go ahead and get to those right now. Do you recommend we share to Pinterest? Yeah, sure. We went over social media training a couple of weeks ago. So by all means, if you want to check that out, you can. But yeah, definitely recommend getting on Pinterest and getting on all social media platforms that you feel comfortable with, doing Etsy ads. I mean, there's like a million different ways, doing email marketing. The answer is yes. Any external traffic that you can bring, absolutely. What do you think are the most perfect dimensions for thumbnail images? I always get conflicted info. That's a really good question. And I would always say, don't listen to anybody but Etsy. Like, don't even listen to me. I'm not Etsy. But what I'm going to say is I'm going to literally type it into Google right now. So Etsy thumbnail size requirements. And I'm only going to go to the website that is Etsy. I'm not going to choose the first two. That's onecommerce.io, pixart.com, shopuploader.com. Nope. I'm going to go to Etsy and answer the question by using what Etsy tells me. All right, so let me see if I can find the exact numbers here. All right, so for listing images, the recommended size, actually, I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see what I see. One second. By the way, when in doubt, don't use YouTube to answer your questions. Don't use me to answer your questions. Don't even use, I love us. I love EverBee. We're great, but don't even use EverBee help. Go to Etsy and you're going to get the answer 100% of the time. And there's no way that it's going to be wrong because they would be doing themselves a disservice. Okay. The recommended listing size is 2000 px for the shortest size of the image and a resolution of 72 DPI, PPI. Images larger than 1 MB in size might not finish uploading, so it might be difficult for the person who tries to like get to you. Like it might be harder for them to like the the thing itself to like refresh well or load well. Shop icon 500 by 500. Profile photo, same thing. Let's see if there's anything else in here that is beneficial right now. I don't think so. So you want to do an aspect ratio of 4:3, I think is really important because most people at the beginning of this year or last year were doing 1:1. They're actively saying doing a 4:3, which is nice. But yeah, I would literally use Etsy to your advantage. This is exactly what they want you to do. Don't worry about what anybody else is saying. Like just get your answers from them. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing that screen now. Do you recommend we share our listings on Pinterest? Already answered that one. Should we always be running sales? Does free shipping get more views? Yes, free shipping gets more views. A free shipping guarantee, Etsy has actively said it pushes your listings in the algorithm 100% from Etsy's website. Should you always be doing flash sales? That's completely up to you and your business model. Should you decide to do, like for me, for example, I am actually in the process right now. Granted, it's on social media, not Etsy, but it's the exact same concept. So it's still selling something digitally, right? So I am in the process right now of doing a 4-week sales cycle for my own business. And during the first week, there was, I think it was 70% off. During the second week, 50% off. During the third week, 20% off. Now, if someone buys it, they basically have 24 more hours to buy that product and they get no discount. So it is completely up to you. If you always want to just keep refreshing flash sales, not a problem. That's literally Target's business model and every other literal big brand's business model. Or if you'd like to do something like I do, which is more of a live launch, which basically means like the people who really, really want this get this and they get it fast and they get this awesome discount. You can do either way. Do you think going on vacation mode for a few weeks because you are literally on vacation hurts your shop? Really good question, Dawn. Again, this is something that you can look up on Etsy's website. Unfortunately, vacation mode does help you, or does hurt you a little bit. But if it's going to protect you and your customers from a potential fallout, a potential missed order, that's my recommendation is I would always think about that first. However, it does take you off of searches for that entire time. Like your listings, your shop, nothing is being promoted or shown during that time. So that's completely up to you and your business model. Do you recommend making the video in the primary photo/video spot? I don't think I think I understand what you're saying, but we don't have control over that. If you upload a video, it will always be the second thing. So you can't move it around. So I think that's what you mean. If you also mean how do I actually do the video? Should I make the product the focus of the video in the middle? Absolutely. So either way, the answer is yes. If I started a 24 to 36 hour flash sale, let's say at 4 p.m. today in the UK, is there a way to tell then when it would, when it would end in the States? Yes. What's going to happen is the flash sale is shown to you based on your time zone. So right now I'm on Eastern, but I have friends that are on Pacific time. So they're 3 hours behind me. So if your thing said 36 hours, it might be like 33 hours for them, if that makes sense. So yes, it will show up as it's supposed to for your time zone. Which one did you say was better in the competitive price? I'm not sure what that question means. Do you recommend having different Etsy shops for different niches? I have explained this thousands of times, so I'm just gonna like lightly go over it really quickly. You can have a general store which has multiple different niches, multiple different products, multiple different target audiences within that store, and I have seen that work really, really freaking well for a lot of people. Or you can do multiple niches at first and then find your winners. So let's say you do books, sports, and nurse stuff. And you see book stuff is just flying off the carts and sports is like, meh, delete the sports, keep going with the books, perpetuate the books, make more of the books. Okay. That's another option if you want to kind of niche down a little bit in time. The third option would obviously be having multiple shops with multiple different target audiences. So that's completely up to you. It's just keep in mind the marketing plan, the SEO, the research time, the listing creation time, all of that will just double or triple because you have more than one shop. So just keep that in mind. Oh, you're so welcome. Someone said, thank you for the great presentation. You are so welcome. Do you recommend placing several stickers like fast shipping on thumbnail photos or just limit them to 1 to 2 icons? Very, very good question. And usually I would say don't use them or only use like one that's really, really going to captivate someone. But because of gift mode and because of the adjustments where someone mentioned that Etsy is basically trying to become Pinterest, which is just a visual shopping experience without text, I almost think it's worth it to do more icons. But again, do not make them overbearing. Do not make them the star of the show. The product needs to be the star of the show. And if you decide to have icons, I would say 1 to 2 is totally fine. But again, the most captivating icons. So handmade in the USA is a really, really good and big one because people are kind of pissed off about how people are doing a lot of print on demand stuff. So if you can say you're handmade in the USA or handmade in Wyoming, might be something that could push you farther and get more people to click on you compared to someone who is making the exact same thing with a print on demand provider right next to you. I also think free shipping could go on there, but it also might be redundant because if you have a free shipping guarantee on your shop, that will pop up itself on the listing. But again, like we talked about, if you are in gift mode, no one will see that you have free shipping. They will only see your photo, the price, and the potential discount. Should we be A/B testing listing photos? Yep, 100%. I always recommend this. I recommend A/B testing every piece of your listing, to be honest. And we'll go over that in just a second. What stickers on thumbnail photos do you think are... Oh, I just answered that. Fantastic. Do you recommend lifestyle or flat lay mockups in thumbnail photos, black or other colors of apparel on the thumbnail photos? Thank you. I would do your research on what your niche is doing well in. So what's performing? Like, for example, one of the niches that I worked in like 3 years ago, I don't really do it anymore, but one of the ones that I worked in like 3 years ago, it was like black, sand, white, and navy blue for whatever reason. Those were like the only 4 that you saw consistently in mock-up photos. And I was like, okay, sounds good. We're just going to go with those. We're going to offer others, but in the thumbnail, I'm only going to really do those. So again, do your research on your particular thing. Also, I recommend a combination of both lifestyle and flat lay. However, in the thumbnail, that is a really, really good opportunity because we only have one option, right? That is a really good opportunity for A/B testing. So I would have 2 of the exact same listing. And the only thing that I would change is it a lifestyle photo or is it a flat lay for the mock-up? And then make your decision from there. Hashtags, if permitted to use, would these help with SEO? Hashtags are not used on Etsy. That's like a social media thing. So no, but I will say like hashtags on Etsy are tags. So yes, you have to use those. There's 13 of them to use for every single listing. But like hashtag t-shirt, that's not going to work here. I see a lot of related words from EverBee that look like misspellings. Ironically, I just misspoke. Should these be used? Absolutely not. Etsy actively tells us to not use misspelled words in our tags, titles, descriptions, etc., to try to get more people to see us. This is just simply because someone they typed it in, or even if like thousands of people typed it in wrong, we still at EverBee, because Etsy also said this, we don't recommend using those in your stuff. Oh, such a good point. So Francesca said, people never read that it is a digital download and it's not a physical item. So I have an icon for that. Very, very important if you are doing digital products, especially if like digital wall prints, because your mock-ups are more than likely going to be like what it looks like on someone's wall, but it's not going to be sent to them physically. So that is a really, really good icon to do. When I am doing product research, I always see the same type of products. As example, I just see birthday mugs. How can I reach to other good niches on that product? Something that I like to do, this is completely up to you guys. If you hate AI or you like AI or you're willing to embrace it, I call ChatGPT Charles. So I just reach out to Charles and I'm like, hey, I'm an Etsy seller and I am looking to increase my visibility score on Etsy. I need to get into 10 new niches. Can you give me examples? And let's say we want to do You said birthday mugs, so I'm going to use like holiday mugs or seasonally based mugs or celebratory celebration mugs. I'm going to pop that prompt into ChatGPT and I'm going to see what he gives me. And then I'm going to see if I like any of them. And then I'm going to basically go back into Etsy/EverBee and do more research on the things he gave me to see if maybe there is an untapped market of, let's say, I think actually World Bosses Day, I believe, is in October. So like World Bosses Day or Best Boss or Greatest Boss Ever, those mugs do really, really well on Etsy, and it might be an undersaturated niche. So that's what I would do. Is it possible to research what products sold over the past 3 months? Of course. All you have to do, actually, I'll show you right now. 1 second. Let me get my other screen up. Maybe. It's not going. Hold on. Oh, because I'm not sharing my screen. That'll do it. 1 second. All right, let's get this one open. All right, you guys should be seeing Etsy right now. So all we're going to have to do is like, let's just say we want to type in, what are we in? August. So like back to school, for example, and then you would just click search. And then on the left-hand side, as long as you have the EverBee extension downloaded, you can go ahead and click product analytics. And then we're going to want to expand our search to all listings. So let's go ahead and click search entire database. Then from there, we can actually come over to filters and the listing age at a maximum of 3 months. Once you do that, now we're going to have a listing list, if you will, of 174,000 that were only launched in the past 3 months. And then like we talked about a second ago, you can also sort by these other things by simply just clicking that arrow and going up or down to find your answer there. Hope that answers your question. Do you recommend do you recommend using mockups that many sellers use or different mockups to stand out? Again, that's going to be an A/B testing thing for you. I have done both options and tested them against each other. So it's really whatever you think is going to make sense for your business model and your marketing strategy. But if you want to guarantee an answer, try both of them. Does it hurt my shop if I combine digital and physical products in the same shop? Absolutely not. I do the exact same thing. For example, I am in like the business owner space. So like I help small business owners digitally, but I also help small business owners through services. And I also help small business owners through like t-shirts like this that relate to my niche and relate to something they'd want. So for example, like a desk calendar would make a lot of sense for people who are trying to purchase my digital items. So that's what I would say is you can have as many different types of products as you want in one store, as long as they speak to the end buyer that you're looking to target. However, again, like we discussed a second ago, if you're doing a general store and just testing a bunch of stuff against each other to see which one is the best, then you can also do that. How do I get people to trust my store if there are no visible purchase yet? I'm just starting. So she said that, or he or she, I'm sorry. They said that they are on social networks and uploading mock-ups. I mean, definitely external traffic is going to be huge. So as much email marketing, as much social media marketing, as much Pinterest traffic that you can get, highly recommend bringing in as many views. I also would just own that you are new. Like, grand opening banner. Shop announcement says I am brand new, but I have been doing this for X number of years, or whatever the case may be. Just because you're brand new to Etsy doesn't have to mean that you're brand new to whatever you're selling, or you're brand new to the niche that you're in. So for example, I am a dog mom and I love dogs. So I would put that and give them reasons outside of reviews and purchases to purchase from me. If I have a general store, can or should I mix handmade and POD? Totally can. Completely up to your business model. What A/B do you keep referencing? Sorry, Lorraine. I do use a lot of acronyms because I've just been doing this for 11 years. So my apologies. So A/B literally is like the letters A and B. So it's A/B testing, which literally just means we are testing one thing against another thing to determine what works. So in this particular case we used a second ago, I would test a lifestyle mock-up as the thumbnail image versus a flat lay mock-up as the thumbnail image, and that is A/B testing. Okay. What do you recommend for digital product pictures? That is a much, much, much longer conversation. But again, I would highly recommend doing your research on what you're trying to sell and seeing what other performers are currently doing in your space. All right, we got a couple more things to get through, so I want to make sure that I can before 11. I told you guys I was going to give you guys back time in your day. I lied, but that's because you guys had so many awesome questions today. So I want to make sure that I'm able to get through all of this. Let me go ahead and share my screen again with the new one. Here we go. All right, back on track. Another thing we can look at is, are you offering, like we've talked about before, competitive shipping prices based on what your target audience expects or what everybody else in your space is doing? You can offer a free shipping guarantee straight through Etsy, which basically means anybody who spends $35 or more in your shop will qualify for free shipping. So it's kind of a nice thing where it'll say free shipping, but it also like might be a $7 item. So it doesn't qualify, but it'll still show that you offer a free shipping guarantee. And you can easily do that in the settings and shipping section of your Etsy shop manager. I also want to talk about, even though you guys, someone mentioned a second ago that they don't have any sales, they don't have any reviews. So this is something to maybe also answer that question is, try to get reviews. So even if you have to go negative profit for a little while, even if you have to get friends and family, and I never want you to give free product to somebody just for a review. God, no, that's very much so against terms of service. But you could like have someone who would be interested in your product purchase it and leave a review. Or if you did have maybe 10 people purchase over the past 3 months, none of them wrote a review. Let's go back and talk to them and get them to do that, because as you can see, you will have, whether it be a star seller badge, if you do have that, as well as your total reviews right here under each of the listings. So those might also be things that make you more reputable and trustworthy. If I'm a searcher trying to find these, if this person has 38,000 reviews and this person has 0 or 5, I might be more inclined to go with them. Just a thought. All right, so that was all of the things that we could potentially change, or we not again change, but more so check. So this is a checklist that you can use for yourself across all of your listings that you have right now, but also listings you're thinking about building in the future. Okay, so it's completely up to you how you want to move forward with this list. If you decide that you want to re-optimize, this goes back to the question that someone asked earlier, if something is 48 months old, should I delete it and restart it? Completely up to you. If that listing was not performing, you can do one of two things. Either you can adjust the current listing based on what we just talked about. You can re-optimize it, and then it can hopefully start playing the game. Or you could, of course, you could delete it if you wanted to and start over, but you also could just duplicate the listing and then adjust 1 to 2 things that we've talked about today. And again, A/B test it against the original. Okay. I don't recommend, though, if you do plan on doing A/B testing or you do plan on making changes, I do not recommend changing everything at once. So let's say everything that we talked about today on our checklist, we were missing the mark on all of them. I do not recommend adjusting all of those today, simply because, or even in the next 30 days, simply because you won't know what caused a change. So if results are brought in, then how do you know what worked and how do you know what to apply to the next one? So that's something I like to just give a little caveat is, don't just go make all these changes today. Make 1 to 2 changes, preferably the photos at minimum, because we've talked about how important that is. And then maybe SEO after that. And then all of the other things we talked about after that. Okay. Make 1 to 2 changes maximum, like preferably just 1 change. Test that for 30 days. See what happens. Okay. Other ways to increase views, this is kind of related to one of the questions someone asked a second ago, is obviously external marketing tactics. So we have social media, email marketing, trade shows and markets, whatever. Of course, you could also do Pinterest driving in, because that's literally an immersive visual-based search engine. We also recommend, if you have the ability and the capital to do this, to do Etsy ads to bring in those views into your shop. Because again, how do we increase the visibility score? We increase our views. So if Etsy ads are bringing us these views, fantastic. Your visibility score, theoretically speaking, should follow suit. Okay. I also want to make sure if you're interested in this, you don't have to do this, but this is just an option. Make sure that if it's available to you, that you are opted in to offsite ads. If you don't know what that is, I highly recommend just literally looking it up on Google, and Etsy will tell you exactly how to make sure that you are or are not opted in. But basically, offsite ads is where Etsy quite literally promote your products offsite. So it's not on Etsy, it's on Google, it's on Facebook, it's on all these random different places that they are partnered with. And you don't have to pay for those views of those ads. You only pay a certain percentage if a sale is made. If I'm not mistaken, it's anywhere between 12 to 15%. That's a really high amount. Don't get me wrong. I know. That's why I said, if applicable, if you want to do this. But it gets you the opportunity to be seen externally without having to do the external work. And it's also different than Etsy ads, where Etsy ads pays for views and clicks, and offsite ads pay for only the sale. So if you make a sale, you pay, rather than Google, Facebook, Etsy ads. If you get a click, you pay. Okay. Hope that makes sense. All right, let's scroll down a little bit. This is just one last thing really quickly before I let you guys go. There are a couple of other questions in the comments, so I do want to hit on those. But I do want to say some things to note once you've made adjustments. This kind of answers the question that we had earlier, is like, how long should I wait? The visibility score is an average of a listing's performance over time since it was created. Okay, so it's not something that like you go and make these changes and next Tuesday you come back and you're like, what the heck, Leslie? Nothing has been fixed. I am still at a 0% visibility. It's probably because your listing is 4 years old and you just made these changes, and we are looking at 3 years and 363 days of data. Okay. So just keep that in mind. It will change slowly over time as people start to view it, as people start to engage with the listing. Okay. The visibility score, by the way, also cannot predict future performance of a listing. It only looks at the past. So that's really important too. If you see 100% visibility score, but it's a seasonal based item and it's doing really, really well in August, but like it tanks in December or it tanks in February, we cannot predict that. That is not something that the visibility score has any control over whatsoever. Also, as we discussed, it might take several weeks to have an impact on the visibility score at all, or on your results, or on your stats, or on your views, or on your click-through rate, because you are playing against so many other people and you are competing for space against so many other listings. So it will take a little bit of time to gain that traction, especially if you are in a little bit more of a saturated space. Okay. Hope that makes sense. All right. Got a couple of questions over here before I let you guys go today. If you do have to hop off at 11, that is totally fine. I will see you guys on the next one. But I do want to address these before I get off. The most relevant keyword for my niche or product is highly competitive. Not many low competition keywords. Should I use suggested high competition keywords and try to rank for it? If you're brand new, I do not recommend using that strategy. If you have some traction, potentially you could. The good news is we have 141 characters in our title. We also have 13 additional tags at 20 characters each in our tags. So there are a lot of other places where you're not just using one keyword to try to rank for, right? You're ranking for potentially 25 words, or especially if you use my theory from earlier of putting it in the listing description as well, like you have unlimited space to be found. So I think it's not a bad idea to utilize that highly competitive phrase. I would not use highly competitive single words. So shirt, nurse, Tumblr, don't recommend those whatsoever. I recommend keywords, some multi-word phrases. However, if a multi-word phrase is highly competitive in your space, you can absolutely use it, but then make sure that the other spaces are used a little bit more intentionally as well. Someone said they can't believe they caught us live. Hi, welcome, Carrie. Before I start selling digital products, embroidery files, and I have changed to wedding veil shop, how to increase sales. I do not know what that question means. I'm sorry. I'm going to skip that one just for time's sake. If you want to elaborate by all means, but I do not know what that question asks. Okay. Is 48 visits a week a good path? Just depends on what you're selling, depends on who you're selling to, and depends on what your goals are for your business and your income, of course. You were just talking about people not leaving reviews, which happens more than not, which I do agree. You said that going back to the customers and asking them to leave a review, are we allowed to do that? You are not allowed to solicit or incentivize a review, but absolutely you can always, like, they have messaging on Etsy for a reason. You can always re-engage a conversation with someone who has purchased. What you're not allowed to do is offer them a discount for leaving a review. Nor again are you allowed to solicit by like giving free product or whatever the case may be. But yes, you absolutely should go back to them and be like, hey, I'm a small business. Q4 is coming up. I really want to make sure that I'm able to build this business as much as I can to have a great Christmas with my family, whatever. Okay. So especially if you're a handmade seller, they will be highly empathetic with that. But yes, you are allowed to, by all means, like re-engage with people who have purchased from you. For Etsy ads, I have no sales nor reviews. Do you think it's a good idea to go ahead? For Etsy ads, we actually did a training on this. If you'd like to check it out, again, in our live playlist section, I think it was 2 parts. It might have been 1 part, but I went very, very in depth on why you should or should not get into Etsy ads. I recommend watching that and then going through that additional checklist for yourself. The majority of my answer, though, is going to be if your listings are not optimized, don't put money behind them because you're just going to be wasting money. I'm sorry if I missed this. How do you set up a 36-hour flash sale? Is it the same as any other sale, just shorter date span? Yes, ma'am. Dawn, that's all you have to do is literally just adjust the end date to be whatever timeline you want it to be. All right, guys, that looks like all of the questions we have today. Apologies again. I was trying to make this a short one for you guys, but here we are at 11:01. So thank you for the 170 people who are still hanging out with me live today. If you guys do have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments of this video, and I will respond to them as quickly as I can. Don't forget, this does happen every single Thursday. So if you came in a little bit late, you can watch this on our channel at your leisure anytime. But also, if you are interested in joining us live, I will be back next Thursday at 10 a.m. All right. Thanks, guys. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.